Are you in control of your life? Are you captain of your own destiny, or are you just a small fish in a big pond, flailing around with no rhyme or reason to your actions? The truth is that we are living in a fallen world where we don't have all the answers. And sometimes our lives can feel more like a game of chance than a well-thought-out plan. But what if your life is not random, but divinely designed? What if the pieces of your life, no matter how chaotic they may seem, are fitting together into a masterpiece that only God could paint? What if God really does have a plan for you? In today's video, we're diving deep into a profound biblical truth that will shift the way you see your life forever. Ready? Let's dive in. God controls your destiny. He has a plan for you even when it feels like everything's spinning out of control. You see, life is full of twists and turns. Dreams come crashing down, opportunities knock and then disappear. And sometimes it feels like we're just rolling with the punches, hoping for the best, but always bracing for impact. But what if there's a guiding hand at the wheel, a divine GPS directing our path, leading us to a destination that only He knows? That's exactly what we're going to unpack in today's message. So hang on tight, because we're about to take a journey that will redefine your understanding of fate, free will, and the awesome plan that God has just for you. Now, before we dig into this topic, I want to give you a little disclaimer. When we talk about God being in control of our destinies, it's crucial to handle this subject with care and sensitivity. We know that people from different faiths, and even those without faith, have varying beliefs when it comes to matters of destiny, fate, and free will. So let's keep our discussion respectful and open-minded. Our goal is to share the biblical perspective and invite you into a deeper relationship with God based on His Word. With that said, let's dive into the first point. God has a plan for you. There are many verses in the Bible that assure us that God has a plan for each one of us. It's important to note that these verses don't suggest that our lives are preordained or that we're merely puppets in God's hands. Rather, they highlight the concept of divine guidance and sovereignty within the framework of free will. In other words, God knows the plans He has for us, but He also gives us the freedom to make choices along the way. Let's look at some of these verses. First, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse is often referred to as the verse of hope because it reminds us that God's intentions toward us are filled with goodness and optimism. God doesn't just have a plan for us, He wants it to be a plan that brings prosperity, hope, and a bright future. Another verse that talks about God's plans for us is Romans 8:28. It says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Here, the Apostle Paul assures us that God's working in our lives is guided by His purpose and love. Even when we face challenges or difficult situations, we can trust that God is working towards a good outcome for those who love Him and are called according to His plan. Now, you might be wondering, what does it mean to be called according to God's purpose? Well, that's a great question. It means that God has a specific purpose or plan for each of us, and He calls us to follow Him and align our lives with His will. This call to purpose isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process of seeking God's guidance, surrendering to His will, and growing in our faith. Okay, now we need to talk about another key verse, Proverbs 16:9. This verse reads, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." This proverb highlights the contrast between human intentions and divine guidance. While we may make plans and set goals, it's God who ultimately directs our paths. He takes our desires and intentions and molds them according to His will, leading us to where He wants us to go. So you might be thinking, okay, God has a plan for me, but what does that actually mean for my everyday life? Does it relieve me of responsibility? Does it give me the right to just sit back and wait for God to do everything? Well, the answer is both yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we don't need to worry or panic when things don't go according to plan. God is still in control. But no, in the sense that we are called to take action and be responsible for the decisions we make. Here's a real-life example. Imagine you're facing a major decision, like whether to accept a job offer in another city or country. You pray, seek counsel from wise individuals, and weigh the pros and cons. You may think you've made the perfect decision based on what you believe is God's will. However, After you've made your choice and started taking steps to move forward, unexpected problems arise, like family emergencies, financial setbacks, or changes in your personal circumstances. Faced with these challenges, you start questioning whether you made the right decision or whether God's will has changed. This is where the reminder that God is in control and has a plan for you becomes crucial. While you may have made the best decision you could at the time, based on the information and guidance you had, unexpected circumstances can change the equation. In these moments, instead of panicking or feeling like you've lost God's direction, remember that God is still in control and His plan for you is unfolding as it should. It may not be what you originally envisioned, but it's part of a bigger picture that only He can see. So what should you do when faced with unexpected circumstances that change your plans? First, remain calm and trust in God's sovereignty. Remind yourself that He has a plan for you, even when things don't go according to your expectations. Second, seek God in prayer, asking for wisdom, guidance, and strength to navigate the new challenges. Remember that God is in the business of turning situations around and bringing good out of difficult circumstances. And third, be flexible and open to adjusting your plans. Be willing to change course if necessary, but always keep God's will as your ultimate guide. Don't be afraid to make new plans or adjust your timeline. Remember that God's timing is perfect, and His plans are always working towards your ultimate good. Trusting God's plan doesn't mean that you shouldn't make decisions or take action. It simply means that you should do so, with the knowledge that God is in control and His plan for you is unfolding perfectly. You have a role to play, but ultimately, it's God who directs your steps and guides your destiny. Okay, now let's look at an inspiring example from the Bible, Joseph's story. As many of you know, Joseph's story is one of resilience, faith, and God's sovereignty. From being sold into slavery by his jealous brothers to being falsely accused and imprisoned, Joseph faced a series of unfortunate events that seemed to turn his life upside down. However, through it all, God was with him, guiding and protecting him every step of the way. One of the most pivotal moments in Joseph's story is when he interpreted Pharaoh's dream about 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph advised Pharaoh to store grain during the years of plenty to prepare for the coming famine. And when the famine struck, Joseph's plan saved Egypt from destruction. It was during this time that Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy food. They didn't recognize Joseph, but he knew who they were. Despite the pain and betrayal they had caused him, Joseph forgave them and revealed his true identity. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph tells his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to preserve a large population, for famine was coming upon the earth, and there were 7 years of plenty, and afterward 7 years of famine." In this verse, Joseph reveals the amazing truth that despite their evil intentions, God had used their actions for good. God had a plan for Joseph's life that was far greater than anything he could have imagined. Through a series of events that seemed random and painful, God had prepared Joseph for the moment when he would save not only his family, but also the nation of Egypt. Joseph's story teaches us several valuable lessons. First, it shows us that God is in control even when things seem to be spinning out of control. Despite the pain and suffering that Joseph endured, God was with him and was using every experience to prepare him for his destiny. Second, it reminds us that we should never give up on God's plan for us, no matter how difficult the circumstances may seem. Joseph could have easily become discouraged and lost hope, but he held on to his faith and trusted that God would eventually vindicate him. Finally, Joseph's story teaches us the importance of forgiveness. When Joseph's brothers came to buy food, they had no idea that they were standing in the presence of their own brother, whom they had sold into slavery. Yet Joseph forgave them and welcomed them into his life. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning what happened, but it means releasing bitterness and resentment and choosing to move forward in a positive way. So the next time you find yourself questioning God's plan for your life, remember the story of Joseph. Trust in God's sovereignty, never give up on His plan for you, and always choose forgiveness. God has a plan for you. He has a purpose for your life. Trust in His sovereignty and know that He is guiding your steps every day. Don't be afraid to seek His guidance, surrender to His will, and be patient in His timing. Remember, You are not just a small fish in a big pond flailing around. You are a masterpiece in God's hands, and He is painting your life with precision and purpose. I hope this video has brought clarity and comfort to your heart. If it did, please hit the like button, share it with a friend, and leave a comment below. We would love to hear your thoughts and see you in the next video. Until then, may God bless you and guide you on the path that He has planned for you. I want to share with you a simple truth that has the power to change your life forever if you believe it, if you accept it, and if you act upon it. And that is this: God controls your destiny. He's in control of your future. Your tomorrow is secure in the hands of the Almighty. So why should you believe this truth? Because it will bring you peace. You see, in this world we live in uncertainty. We face uncertainty every day. When we step outside our doors, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to make it home safely. We don't know what's going to happen in the economy or in the market, or in our relationships, or even with our health. But when you realize that God is in control of your destiny, your tomorrow becomes bright. You have hope because you realize that nothing happens by chance, by luck, by fate, but everything by the will, by the plan, by the purpose of God in your life. That's why it's so important to always go to God in prayer. Prayer is the key. Prayer is the channel of communication between you and the one who knows the end from the beginning. Don't try to figure everything out. Surrender your plans to God. That's what I want to share with you today. Surrender your plans to God. Walk by faith, not by sight. The Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians 5:7, we walk by faith, not by sight. So don't let the circumstances around you dictate how you feel inside. Because if you fix your eyes on the problem, you will feel overwhelmed, you will feel defeated. But if you lift up your eyes above the problem, and that's where your help is going to come from, then you'll begin to tap into that strength, that power, that ability that comes from God, the source of all hope and all strength. Now someone may say, but what about suffering? What about delays? What about times where I feel like God is silent? What about unanswered prayers? Well, let me tell you something. Trust is tested in the waiting. This is where many people fall. They ask God for something and they don't wait. They try to force things to happen. They try to manipulate situations. They try to make things work. And when they don't, they get frustrated, disappointed, discouraged, angry, even at times bitter against God. Here's the reality. God sometimes allows certain things to happen because He wants you to depend on Him, to trust in Him, to believe in Him, because that's where your faith is going to be strengthened. So don't ever think that those delays, those unanswered prayers, those circumstances are just there by chance. No, they are orchestrated by the hand of God, and He has a reason for allowing them to take place. Remember, God is never early, He's never late. He's always on time. The Bible says that we must hold fast our confession. In other words, don't let go of what you believe for. Don't let go of your faith. Don't give up on God's promises. Hold fast your confession. Now, some people may say, well, I've been praying for this for a long time, and why hasn't God answered me yet? Well, I'm here to tell you, delay is not denial. It could be that God is preparing you for what you're asking for. He could be preparing you to receive what you're asking for. He could be putting the pieces together for what you're asking for. Just trust in His perfect timing. You see, when we understand that God is in control of our destiny, it gives us peace, it gives us joy, hope, and strength, because we know that nothing can shake His hand, nothing can overthrow His purposes, nothing can stop His promises. Everything is working together for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Let me encourage you today to fix your eyes on Jesus. Look unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of your faith. He's the one who started good work in you, and He's going to complete that work until the day is done. So don't lose heart. Don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't walk away from God. Don't walk away from your first love. Don't walk away from that dream that God gave you. Don't walk away from that vision that God showed you. Hold fast your confession. Hold fast your belief. Hold fast your trust. Hold fast your faith. For those who are trusting in God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the Old Testament, the God of the New Testament, the God of today, the God of tomorrow, your destiny is safe. It's not in your hands. It's in His. It's in the hands of the Almighty. So my question for you today is this: are you going to trust God? Are you going to pray and seek His face, or are you going to give in to fear, worry, anxiety, doubt, unbelief? The choice is yours. But remember, God wants you to put your tomorrow in His hands. He wants you to surrender your plans to Him. He wants you to walk by faith, not by sight. You see, when we walk by sight, we look at the circumstances. We look at the problems, we look at the obstacles. But when we walk by faith, we look beyond the problems, beyond the circumstances, beyond the obstacles. And that's where our help comes from. That's where our strength comes from. That's where our hope comes from. That's where our joy comes from. So if you need encouragement today, if you need strength today, if you need hope for your future, if you need guidance for your path, if you need wisdom for your decisions, then I encourage you to spend time in prayer, spend time in the Word, spend time in worship. And as you do, here's what I want you to remember. God controls your destiny. Your tomorrow is in the hands of the Almighty. So don't worry, don't fret, don't be anxious. Cast all your burdens onto God, and He will take care of everything for you. He will work everything out for you. He will bring everything together for you. Just trust in Him, believe in Him, hope in Him, have faith in Him, and walk in His ways. If you agree with this message, if you've been inspired by this message, if you've been encouraged by this message, then I invite you to like, comment, and share with someone else. Someone needs to hear this message. Someone needs to be reminded of this truth. God controls our destiny. So until next time, remember, God loves you, God bless you. And until we meet again, keep trusting God. Keep surrendering your plans to God. Keep walking by faith, not by sight. Remember, delay is not denial. God is in control of your destiny. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.